Man, what's good, Rasa? What's good, people? What's cracking, everybody? It's your essay. Another reaction. You already know how I do it. All native today. This is gonna be the last reaction for the day, and it's not a song. It's a little documentary. I ain't know it was that real in the res. I knew the res was kind of bad, but I didn't think it was bad. This right here, we're gonna react to Minnesota mobsters inside the native mob. All right. They're causing havoc in the res, bro. Natives is causing havoc in the res. Y'all better cut that shit out, boy. But hey, there's always gonna be young thugs, and any matter where you part of the world you're at, every city has a little group. You can have a little ass circle, and a little circle gonna be the baddest motherfucker in the whole group, man. Every culture has it. Every city, every town, every village, every colony. Everybody has a bad season, man. So this is the natives, bro. So the Reds is yeah, y'all trying to put the Reds up in the wrong way, man. You know what I mean? No, I just fuck with y'all, man. But yeah, grab your smoke, your drinks, you go get your whatever you're gonna do, go do that. Come back, hit the subscribe button for your essay, homie, and then we get into this reaction. All right, so let's go, baby. Minnesota mobsters. Let's see how dead it is.
Lake Indian Reservation town of Cass Lake, Minnesota. It was a warm morning by Minnesota standards, but there was still snow on the ground as they trotted along Tract 34. Earlier in the day, Amos had noticed a person mean-mugging him from a vehicle, but he didn't think much of it. That is, until he noticed another vehicle pulling up behind him, and a man, armed with a .40 caliber pistol and wearing latex gloves, jump out and charged towards him. Amos picked up his daughter and ran for his life as the gunman began to fire. Bullets whizzed past him as he continued to run in a straight line, giving his assailant a clear shot. He made it only a few more steps before he was struck by gunfire and fell to the ground, catapulting the little girl a few feet forward as
My man, when you're getting you better zigzag, my boy. Do not run a straight line. Pretend you're playing football. Run straight, cut. Cut again. Cut. No, juke these motherfucking bullets, boy. Quit playing. Don't run a straight line. Hell, you better cut them corners. I mean,
as he hit the pavement.
Trust me.
The shooter continued.
Trust me. I cut a lot of corners on bullets, bro. I'm still here. Them cutting works, bro. You think you're gonna go right? You better hit the left, boy.
To fire, but Amos Leuk was lucky that day. It just so happened that a retired tribal officer named John Wind was driving a Chevy Avalanche down Tract 34 at that very moment and noticed the foot chase and the shooting. John Wind made a split-second decision to do something heroic. He pulled his vehicle in between Amos and the shooter, hurtling both victims into the vehicle and speeding off to a local hospital. Amos Leuk had been struck 3 times, but his daughter was fortunate. Though one of the rounds hit her backpack and she suffered scrapes from the fall, the little girl suffered no gunshot wounds. As John Wind asked Amos questions to keep him awake, she screamed, "Wake up, Daddy," throughout the drive to the hospital. Amos survived, but the shooting would have grave implications for years to come. While Amos Leuk was being tended to, police were on their way to solving the crime. As it turned out, the shooter, William Odie Morris, had run off in the confusion, while the vehicle he was in sped off in a different direction.
Yo, they left his ass. They left his ass, boy. Like, shit, you done messed up, boy. You ain't, man. And why are these kids white, man? I seen a lot of white kids in the native residents, bro. What's going on, man? White people are dating a lot of red girls. What's going on, man? Or y'all just jumping, crossing the little red line and just going ham in the reservation? What's going on, man? What's going on, man? What's going on, natives? Y'all letting these white folks some put y'all, you know, making y'all skin color lighter by generations. It ain't none of my business. I'm saying though, you got to find the man, but y'all let the man into, y'all know.
Police found Morris and the latex gloves he'd been wearing, and they soon identified the suspected driver, a man named Anthony Francis Cree, also known as Pun.
That's a
It
Samoan
turns out
dog.
that both Morris and Cree had
That's a big ass Mexican right there, right?
affiliation with a fast-growing Midwest gang known as the Native Mob, widely considered at the time to be the most dominant Native American gang in the United States. Since 2004, the FBI
Damn,
and
the
DEA
United
have been monitoring
States?
the Native Mob with some interest, taking notes and collecting evidence just as they did with
Everybody like that red color, bro. I swear to God.
But after the Amos Leuk shooting, that investigation was ratcheted into high gear. The federal government decided it would use the RICO statute to do its best to take down
The RICO and the
and
Reds?
the main target would be
What?
its chief, a Minnesota native whom authorities blamed for bringing organization to the mob
Ogema?
and uniting its different
it
geographic
Omega?
factions under a common purpose. Soon, the U.S. Department of Justice would secure a federal indictment alleging 10 years' worth of crimes committed by Native mob members, including the murder of a fellow Native mob member's worth of crimes committed.
Let's see, man. Let's see real quick. Wakan MacArthur. That's a white native. Sean Michael Martinez. That's a white Mexican. Christopher Lee Worry. That's a white native. Anthony Francis Cree. White native. William Oro Morris. That's a white guy. Eli Lee Goodwin. Jesus Thomas, man, this motherfucker is all over the world, bro. These are natives. They got Mexican, white, everything type of name in there, and they bloodline, bro. For real. Christopher, Anthony, Jesus, Earl. Shit, boy. We're playing with these people, bro.
By Native mob members, including the murder of a fellow Native mob member, shot in the head as he and his killer walked through the snow in Minneapolis. But before we get into all of that, let's set the stage for how this group came to exist in the first place. For
They're not good tigers, I can tell you that.
two primary indigenous tribes have existed: the Lakota, also commonly known as Dakota, and the Ojibwe, also known as Chippewa, Ojibwe, and Ojibwa. So much of Minnesota's history traces back to indigenous people, including the name Minnesota itself. But in the mid-1800s, most of the state's native population was forced into reservations along the Mississippi River as the non-native population increased by 28-fold. The year 1862 saw a
Hence the
six-week
names.
conflict known as the
Christopher,
U.S.
Earl, William,
during which the
Jesus,
state's
Jesus.
governor literally advocated, quote, extermination of Native Americans. Over the years, indigenous people of the Midwest were killed, forcibly relocated,
Yo, they was
stripped
ruthless,
of
huh?
land rights,
Damn.
kept in prison camps, and robbed of their culture and heritage through boarding schools that were mandatory for native youths.
Hey, that's
All at
fact,
the
bro.
hands
White
of
folks
the
did not play,
government.
bro.
Today, native
White folks came across the damn ocean, discovered this country, came across the ocean with something called paper, started colonizing, and then started thinking, hey, shit, I was here first, so I'm the owner of the United States of America. This right here is gonna call Minnesota. This is Iowa, Montana, Illinois, Ohio. I don't know where the names came from, but I swear, bro, I don't know why these people think that they came and all of a sudden it belonged to them, man. It actually just boggles my mind. And the natives too, man. Anytime we messed up, bro, but y'all let that shit happen. Us Mexicans too, cause we had part of it too. You know what I'm saying? We got bamboozled by the goddamn Europeans, bro. Spaniards and the Europeans. You know what I'm saying? We got bamboozled. They had a good they had the gift of gab. You know what I'm saying? They had paperwork. We didn't know what paper was, man. We all knew we knew how to live off the land, and that's it. These motherfuckers came with papers, signatures, and John Hancock's and did all that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Messed it all up, bro. I swear to God, I think this country would be a lot better if it was not even modernized like that, bro. Shit, crazy, man. Colonization is no joke.
Native Americans have the highest poverty rate of any ethnicity in Minnesota, the lowest life expectancy, and make up roughly 10% of the state's prison population, despite being just 1% of the overall population statewide. In the Leech Lake Reservation, where the Amos Leuk shooting occurred, the unemployment rate was nearly double that of the country's in 2010, and the median household income was nearly $10,000 less than that of the United States as a whole. A local attorney named Timothy Aldrich testified at a RICO trial that he'd seen countless indigenous youths join gangs in his career for similar reasons. Quote, "You know, the simplest way to put it is this. People who are hurt people. And the community, the Native community, has experienced a lot of trauma and have this pain within them that seems to be carried out as internalized oppression." That brings us to the Native mob. The gang started in the mid-1990s as an offshoot of the Vice Lords, but only with a handful of members. The Vice Lords, one of the best-known gangs in the United States, apparently started aggressively recruiting from Minnesota's indigenous population after members of the gang murdered Minneapolis police officer Jerry Hoff in retaliation for an act of police brutality by another officer, leading to a huge government crackdown against the Vice Lords. As time went on, what came to be known as the Native Vice Lords branched off to form its own thing, and ultimately dropped the Vice Lords title altogether in favor of the names Native Kings or Native Mob. At any rate, by the early 2000s, the group had spread throughout Minnesota, primarily occupying Red Lake, Leech Lake, Cass Lake, White Earth, Fond du Lac, Duluth, South Minneapolis, and other communities. It is organized by titles like Ogema, the Ojibwe word for chief, as well as co-chief, war chief, treasurer, sergeant-at-arms, enforcer, and reps, who literally represent their respective geographic regions and are responsible for communicating with the higher-ups in the gang. It uses symbols like a medicine wheel, with the letters N and M, and claims the colors black and red, and members are known to wear Milwaukee Brewers hats because the logo spells out M-O-B. The Native mob has on-again, off-again conflicts with the Native gangster Disciples, the Project Boys, and other rivals that have lasted for years. But one reason why the gang hadn't popped up too far on the Fed's radar prior to 2010, though, was its general lack of organization. In 2005, the Native mob's co-founder, Wambly MacArthur, was sentenced to 30 years in prison for murdering 20-year-old Vincent LaRocque at the Little Earth housing complex in Minneapolis. That left a power vacuum that was quickly filled by Gordon G. Money Reese. But while Reese was credited by some with having helped to start the Native mob, the next 2 years saw infighting within the gang, as members of different geographical factions argued about
It always happens, man.
in the gang.
They said they
The
break two
following
little
year,
factions.
Reese was indicted and ultimately convicted of running an extensive drug ring. He was given 30 years in federal prison. Once again, that left a void in the leadership of the Native mob. And this time, the man who stepped in to fill it had a grand vision that would unite the gang and expand it beyond anything in its history. This is where Wakinyan Wakan MacArthur enters our story.
That's a white man.
Known
You know
commonly by the nickname Khan, Wakinyan MacArthur had
just be
instant
joking, I just be
credibility as
joking.
Wambly MacArthur's younger brother. But he'd made a name for himself in other ways too. On December 30th, 1994, when he was just 15 years old, Khan got into an argument with someone at a house party on 18th Street South in Minneapolis. So he pulled out a gun and fired a shot. He didn't hit his intended target, but the bullet struck
never does,
29-year-old Stacy Rivers, who died the next.
I guess it doesn't matter what race you are, or what part of the world you're in. When you do something at a certain person, you always missing. You hit an innocent person. It doesn't matter what situation, state, person, gang, race, religion, culture, anything. It's always the same. You have no aim. You miss the target. And you hit innocent people. You know what I'm saying? It's dumb shit. Dumb shit. All around the place. Dumb shit.
Khan was charged with murder, sentenced to 12 and a half years. But because of his young age, a judge agreed to stay his sentence and give him probation, with the agreement that he could end up serving the full term if he committed another crime. Well, just 4 years after Rivers' murder, Khan was once again arrested and charged with murdering a man named Jerome Peak at another house party in
This man's a driller.
This time, at Khan's October 1998 trial, the defense portrayed him as a peacemaker who tried to stop the violence at the party. The result was an acquittal for Khan, but also a prison sentence. After the not guilty verdict, a judge found Khan in violation of his probation and ordered him to serve the remainder of his prison sentence. He stayed behind bars until 2006. As his release date got closer, he began to put his plan in motion to unite the Native mob, stopped the infighting, and installed discipline in the group.
Boy, they
In
can't fight for
2004,
shit. That's what they
he
shooting
wrote a
people.
letter from
They
prison
can't
to
fight
a
for
close
shit.
friend and confidant.
I swear to
named
God,
Kenny
boy, hey,
Roberts.
I don't give a damn what anybody said, bro. These dudes cannot fight. That's why they shoot. That's all I do is swinging with hands down. Get over here, Philip. Let me hit you one time. No, Carl. You're not gonna hit me. Yo, these people cannot fight, bro. No, I'm not. Hey, a lot of them could, but man, the ones that shoot, this is the ones that can't fight. But shoot. let's look at it again, man.
Or he wrote a letter.
That's Carl and Joseph fighting right there.
To unite the native mob, stop the infighting, and install discipline in the group. In 2004, he wrote a letter from prison to a close friend and confidant named Kenny Roberts, a longtime native mob member who had proved his worth time and time again. Roberts' cousin had been killed by native gangster Disciple, ending a peace treaty with them and further cementing Roberts' loyalty to the mob.
It's crazy. I prison had phones now.
Quote,
it's crazy.
The potential was there. We just need confidence in the leadership after we clean house. Get rid of a few studs that have been holding us back from growth. Shit is going to get real once again. I believe in that 100%. When Khan got out, Roberts was made war chief, a very important role that can include assisting with planned violence, keeping track of firearms, and dishing out punishment for violations. But even before he got out of prison, Khan was instantly thrust into controversy when Leech Lake Reservation leaders actually considered banishing him from the reservation due to his criminal record and alleged gang leadership. Reflecting years later,
I love
he
the
said,
native music, bro. That shit is
It was
peaceful.
very discouraging to go through that, to actually come that close to getting banished. It was scary. I didn't deserve it.
Yo, they don't care about doing 30 years in prison, but they don't want to get banned from the Reds, dog. That's crazy. They love their Reds, man. Tell you that much. But man, you love your Reds, stop doing stupid shit or hurt it.
The probation department ultimately assuaged the banishment talk by reassuring the public that they would do a good job monitoring.
Shit, kick their ass. Boop, boot, get in the boot, bro. That's what he was scared of. Boot them
was a
motherfucker.
reorganization of the native mob that took steps towards stopping internal conflicts and which brought structure to the gang. Geographic reps were named. A man named Chris Worry, aka Lil White, served as treasurer and later as co-chief. Another native mob member named Sean Martinez was also given the co-chief title at times. The gang started holding councils on the second Saturday of every month.
They split duties, baby. They
where
split
reps from
duties. I don't want to be
different
this today,
areas
bro.
would
I'll be your
roll
new
call,
switch.
check in,
Switch
and
role for
discuss
the day.
various issues and business. Khan and Lil White were also roommates at the same Cass Lake home at 316 Maple Avenue Northeast, which became affectionately known as the White House. It was there that Lil White would cook up crack cocaine for distribution, after obtaining powder from various sources around Minnesota. But unlike many of the criminal organizations we've covered here, the native mob did not appear to be raking in millions in drug profits. Members who later flipped and testified against the gang described buying
Always
small
happens.
amounts, even just a few
Always
grams for
happens.
redistribution. And the big haul of the native mob investigation was a 2008 traffic stop that yielded a couple pounds of pot and a backpack. So unless these informants got it totally wrong or were lying to cover things up, it sounds like the members who sold drugs were scraping out a living by selling to a handful of drug addicts in their areas. That, in turn, made eliminating the competition much more important, though oftentimes native mob members would simply try to intimidate rival gang members or drug dealers by shooting up their home, rather than going straight to murder, according to the prosecution's own theory. That brings us to 2010, and the aftermath of the Amos Leuk shooting, when the federal government decided to ramp up the investigation into the native mob. It did so in a typical fashion, by targeting native mob members and associates who seemed willing to turn informant, hitting them with serious charges, then essentially strong-arming them into turning on their brothers. But by their own
works
admission,
too.
the federal government had never had much success getting native mob members to flip before this. And in July 2010, just 4 months after the Leduc shooting, they received another stark reminder of how little the native mob tolerates snitches, when William Morris popped a cup of water in a microwave at the Crow Wing County Jail, let it boil for 4 minutes, then tossed it onto a man named Richard Norton for allegedly cooperating with police. It was just another run-in with what would become a chain of events involving snitches, retaliation, and violence during the investigation. It turned out that the fear of a lengthy prison sentence was enough to break certain people in the gang, and information started coming in. Soon, there was enough evidence to implicate Worry in cocaine trafficking and that MacArthur and Worry were stashing guns at the White House. A warrant was drafted to search the place on February 17, 2011. And though police found some gang indicia, they basically walked away empty-handed. But prosecutors claim that afterwards, MacArthur was furious, and he figured there must be a loose thread. Suspicion started falling on a relatively new Native Mob member named Jeremy Krasy. Like many who joined the Native Mob, Krasy spent much of his life searching for direction. He was born in Minneapolis, but spent part of his youth in Cass Lake. He was an avid fisherman, and though he had some arrests for drug dealing in his early 20s, he
look nice, man.
as a machinist at the Red Lake
That's
Reservoir.
crazy. It got nice ass
In late
little
2010,
areas.
he shocked his mother by telling her, quote, "Mom, you are no longer my family. I have a new family. I'm a part of the Native Mob now." But he was still a devoted family man who loved his
That's
children.
crazy.
And on February 25th, 2011,
That's just
he attended a
crazy.
parents' night for his daughter's high school basketball team, 2 hours away from Minneapolis. Eyewitnesses would later recount that Krasy got a call, told the person he didn't want to do whatever was being asked of him, but then saw Lil White. The two got into a heated discussion, after which Krasy told his daughter that he needed to go to Minneapolis. The following day, Krasy's body was found lying on the snow in the backyard of a South Minneapolis home. He'd been shot once in the back of the head and twice in the abdomen, and there were no indications the gunshots were preceded by a struggle. The Native Mob called an emergency meeting in which two members were told not to retaliate until the gang's leadership figured out who was responsible for Krasy's death. Of course, police were also working hard to figure out who was responsible, and a big break would come just a week later when one of the many informants did a controlled cocaine buy for the federal government.
It's crazy how they have
Dope Boy Hisemovich, and he had
snitches
been
in every
wearing a wire
gang,
for
bro.
months, not just for drug deals, but to record Native Mob councils. On March 3rd,
They even said the name and
2011,
everything.
he strapped the wire to his chest once again, discussed code words with DEA Special Agent Travis Ocken to alert him if he were to get into trouble, and went to buy a small amount of cocaine from Sean Martinez. But Martinez was in a talkative mood. As U.S. Attorney Andrew Winter would later recount, quote, "In hushed tones, Martinez confided that Krasy was viewed by the gang as a snitch, and that the gang's leader, Joaquin MacArthur, had asked him to commit the murder. Martinez described the middle-of-the-night execution, but urged the informant not to mourn Krasy's death because, as Martinez emphasized, Krasy was bogus."
Damn, they always talking.
Family members later told police Krasy had been trying to distance himself from the Native Mob, but police say Krasy was not one of the people who'd become an informant. As it turned out, one of the men responsible for the search warrant on the White House was a lot closer to the top of the gang's leadership than the likes of Krasy.
That's crazy, bro.
8 months
Your close
later,
homies that couldn't do
Martinez
jail
was in
time, so
jail
they're
for a
snitching on
probation
y'all.
violation. By early 2012, the RICO indictment against the Native Mob was secured. All told, 30 Native Mob members were prosecuted in connection with the probe.
See, man, that's why when you do stuff, I don't condone doing violence, criminal activity, any of that. But if you're doing stuff like that, man, you gotta keep that shit and keep it to yourself and do it by yourself. End of discussion. End of discussion. That's all you gotta do. Hush it and do it alone. Whatever it is, man. You gotta go take a dump. Go take a dump in the back by yourself and don't say nothing. Keep it quiet. You know what I'm saying?
All but 3
Damn,
of
people
them
just they like to
accepted
talk
plea
nowadays.
deals, including Sean Martinez, who admitted to murdering his one-time friend and took a 43-year federal prison sentence. The 3 holdouts were Anthony Cree and William Morris, the alleged driver and shooter of Amos Leuk, and of course, Joaquin MacArthur, who would go on to testify in his own defense, denying all of the allegations and rebutting the notion that the Native Mob was anything more than a close-knit family. As the trial date got closer, though, prosecutors had to reveal who their confidential sources were. and one name was a bombshell. It was Kenny Roberts, the native mob's war chief, who had agreed to not only aid in the investigation but to testify at the trial. As a matter of fact,
And
Roberts,
he had
not Krasy,
war chief,
was one of
dog.
the confidential informants who had given
He knew he had
information
every
about the
record.
White House that led authorities to
Yeah, see, they
certainly
look
search him
tough, bro,
there
but they
the week
fucking
before
soft ass
Krasy
cakes,
was
baby.
killed.
Telling you.
But with
Look
that
at the
revelation came a
tattoos
potential
don't make you
scandal.
tough, bro.
If the native mob had, in fact, orchestrated a pre-planned murder of one of their own, as the feds claimed, how likely was it that this was carried out without the knowledge of the man assigned as the gang's war chief? And if it was true that Khan and others believed Krasy to be a snitch, who put that idea in their head to begin with? When it came time for Roberts to testify at the trial, he revealed that he had flipped after being arrested for having a gun and cocaine in October 2010, and talked about Amos Leuk being a target for having cooperated against a native mob member named Muka, who shot his own cousin in a family dispute. But prosecutors ended the questioning early, rather than question Roberts about activities on or around February 2011, staving off the defense's ability to cross-examine him about it. When it came time for the defense to argue, they called the Fed's attempt to use the RICO statute the stretch of the century, once again portraying Khan as a peacemaker who was trying to bring structure to the native mob to reduce violence and disorderly conduct, but describing the crimes alleged in the indictment as, quote, impetuous, unthinking conduct by wild, undisciplined boys and young men, as opposed to organized crime.
Calling them kids,
federal
baby.
prosecutors must not
Call them
only
what they
prove
is,
the crime,
kids.
but that they were part of a criminal organization for RICO to apply. Khan's attorney, Frederick Getz, went a step further than that. Quote, Joaquinian MacArthur is as much a leader of this group as anyone could be who has ever tried to herd a bunch of cats, he told the jury.
Yo, he
William
talking
Morris
shit
got on the
about
stand
this
and
people.
admitted to shooting
And
Amos,
these people is
but
nuts.
said it was for personal
They
reasons.
like,
He
they're like
denied even
fucking
being a
roaches and
native
rats
member.
type shit, though.
Similarly,
That's
Khan
what it
not only
seems like,
disavowed
honest.
Morris'
I ain't saying
alleged
they are.
mob ties, but called the Amos Leuk shooting a, quote, cowardly act that he wanted no part of. He testified that he still mourned the loss of Krasy, that it was painful to even think about, and that he knew prosecutors were trying to hurt him by dwelling on the tragedy so much. I don't qualify for RICO, he said. The native mob was about surviving, that's all. Whether it be amongst ourselves, surviving from each other, surviving the elements of our society. We're a product of society. I was given this world. I didn't make it. In the end, jurors convicted the group of racketeering and other charges, and they were all given decades in prison. Their sentences are still up for appeal, so it is possible that they will earn reduced time as the years go by. But the story doesn't quite end there. In 2019, a native mob member named Dakota James Lefave was sentenced to 366 months in federal prison for assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering. It stemmed from yet another example of witness retaliation 2 years earlier, when Lefave realized he was riding in the same car with a man who'd been part of the native mob and had testified against them years earlier in a RICO trial. The victim was shot in the back, but survived. Authorities have never disclosed his name, but they did release his initials in the charging records, which provide little doubt of who it could be. K.R.
Well, damn. A lot of snitching, bro. I mean, they was putting in business, they were doing business, they were putting in work, but the government was calling them kids childish. You know what I mean? Cat leading the cats. It was crazy, bro. They were basically getting made fun of, but they was hurting people, man, unaliving people. But at the same time, they was snitching on themselves. Some of them just couldn't hack it, bro. They want to live that type of life, but when they get caught up, they're scared to do the time for it. My man said, "Shit, I had drugs and a blammer." Yeah, I'm telling you, what you want to know? What you want, man? I'll tell you, my mama's she claimed 6 kids and she only had 4. I'm telling you everything, whatever you want to know. I'll tell you anything. You feel? It's crazy, man. But hey, look, every like I said earlier in the beginning of this video, man, every state, city, place, location, village, whatever, has that group that doesn't want to follow rules, and they think they're better than everybody, and it starts like that, man. But that's crazy, bro. Natives out there putting their city in the map for the wrong way. You know what I mean? But hey, a lot of snitching, bro. So tattoos don't make you tough, bro. Don't make you was a war chief and you was snitching about the whole situation, my boy. You were like the Donnie Brasco looking ass. But anyways, man, in the comment section, what y'all think about this? Crazy, right? But yeah, TikTok, Instagram. If you watch anime, I got an anime reactions on Patreon. Can't do it on here because they copyright everything, sensitive. You want to donate to the channel? Donations accepted, available, whatever you want to do, man. Good looking. Bless me with something. I don't get paid, but you don't have to. But I'm just saying, man, I'm a broke ass Mexican. Nah, but man, look, real shit though, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. There's a lot of people out there that you wouldn't expect them to be some type of way, but turn around and be killers, you know? Crazy. But yeah, man, like I said, follow me on all social media, Xbox, PlayStation. I play Warzone. I'm not that good at it, but I still play it. Kill time, Patreon, all that good stuff, man. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like or dislike on this video, man. Shout out to all my natives, bro. From your homie Esse, I'm out. Oh yeah. Don't kill nobody.